Okay, we are back here in this place. Same place.
Same bad time. Same Bond time.
Same
Bond
Same
place.
Bond. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. This is the second episode of our recap of the James Bond movie series for the podcast
My Thing, Your Thing.
My Thing, Your Thing. I'm Donovan,
I'm Hannah.
and today we're going to be doing From Russia with Love, the second James Bond movie. It has been literally seconds since we last recorded.
Yeah, or days. Or maybe we never recorded at all.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Time is a flat circle.
Hey, listen now. Look, the next season isn't coming out until sometime next year, so you can't get me all hyped up on True Detective.
Yeah, you're right. Last season was good, but it disappointed me a little bit.
No, I loved it. It's like my second favorite season.
Oh, it's well, we all agree that season 3 was the best one.
Season 3 is the best, yes.
Yeah,
This is true.
absolutely.
And you've not seen season 2, so you don't know how bad season 2 is.
Yeah, I have not seen season 2. That's true. I've seen everything else though. Okay.
I just think that season 1 was more interested in like making Matthew McConaughey say weird things than telling a cohesive story.
Fair enough. I was mildly disappointed with season 1 after hearing people talk
about
it up
how great
for so
it is.
long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's also one of the things of like, oh, like season 1 was really good, and it was also it hit during the time of like a lot of prestige television, and then season 2 sucked so hard that everyone was like, oh, season 1's so good. Season 3 is better.
Yeah, season 3 is so much better. Oh my
Anyway, we're here to talk about James Bond.
We are, and in fact, we're going to talk a little bit here about James Bond fever.
James Bond fever.
Yes, because after Dr. No came out, which was a smashing success, had a budget of $1 million, and it made $60 million.
In $1962.
In $1962. That is so much money.
That's a lot of money.
Like, think about it. There's no movies coming out these days that are making that kind of like return on a modest budget. Like
Yeah.
It's completely
Sorry,
insane.
what was the budget again?
$1 million. And it made $60 million.
They're like, okay, not the same because the value is different, but like there are a couple of like really low budget like Halloween, or not Halloween, but like horror movies, like A24 movies that have really low budgets that get really high return on investment.
Sure,
but like not like that.
No, not like that. And not only was it a huge success on its own, but it kind of kicked off the secret agent fever.
Oh yeah,
So Man from U.N.C.L.E., Mission Impossible, like spy movies, spoofs on spy movies. Get Smart was a very specific parody of it. That all starts to happen because of James Bond. The first James Bond parody movie would come out in 1964, and there have been 1 million of those. It's kind of crazy how much culturally the secret agent spy thing has really sort of fit into our culture, and that comes from James Bond being a big success. Another big part of pop culture that comes from Dr. No, the two-piece bikini. It existed before this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but Ursula Andress coming out of the water wearing the two-piece bikini, sales through the roof.
Yeah, I would bet.
And that really launched the two-piece bikini in
Which would then launch a lot of like the 60s like beach movies.
Yes.
Because those are all basically just like excuses to watch girls in bikinis.
Yep. It was a big moment in pop culture. And, Ursula Andress, she would be in other movies. She would be an actress, but, she wasn't really known as much for being an actress as much as she was for being like a model.
Sure.
And that was probably her most famous. I think she even said that was made her a celebrity, was that moment.
Wearing it, yeah.
Coming out, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, James Bond was sort of protested at the time by some moral groups, like the Catholic Church and a few kind of groups did not like some of the things about James Bond, specifically the sex. They were very scandalized by the idea of this guy
having sex outside of the bounds of marriage.
Not just that, but like with 3 different women in 3 days.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
if you think about the movie, he's in Jamaica for like less than a week, and he has sex with like 2 women, and then
there was the golf lady.
There was the golf lady from the beginning, like that. And obviously, some people had a problem with the violence in the movie.
Sure,
people have always
hilarious in hindsight, but sure.
Yeah. So it's interesting that at the time, people did have moral problems with James Bond. They're just different than the moral problems I think we'd have now.
Yeah.
It was less about like, oh, he's objectifying women, and it was more that he's having sex with women. That was the problem.
Shock horror.
Ian Fleming, he did not initially approve of the Connery casting. He thought that, I think I mentioned before that he thought Connery was sort of like a big, overgrown, like hunk guy, and not like a suave, sophisticated commander.
Oh, yeah, right.
But apparently, he actually really was impressed by the performance. He thought that Connery brought a lot to the role.
Hey, really quickly.
Yeah.
When did Star Trek the first, like the original series? When did that?
That was the late
air?
60s.
Late 60s.
So you're still another 5 or 6 years before that happens.
Calling Sean Connery like a big hunk, like I'm trying to place that in like the cultural landscape, and like think of other like people who would be considered like I suppose hunky. And like my first thought was, oh yeah, Captain Kirk, high-waisted pants, big barrel chest guy. But then also I guess like James Dean, but like they don't like those. They have very different body types.
Yeah. And Connery, compared to you mentioned James Dean and Shatner, those guys were like attractive masculine guys, but Sean Connery was 6'2" and like 250 pounds. Like he was a big guy.
Yeah.
That was part of it, but he was so impressed by it that in the books that he wrote after the first couple of movies, he actually changed James Bond's sort of background. He gave him like a Scottish father, so he had like some Scottish heritage. He actually really liked that, which I thought was always interesting.
Yeah,
that he sort of was won over, and also he was making millions of dollars from it probably. So
yeah, that definitely helped cushion the blow some.
Who else was a huge fan of Dr. No?
James Dean.
Ooh, you're actually not that far off. U.S. President John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Really?
He was a huge fan. And not only was he a huge fan of the movie when it came out, but he had apparently in an interview had given a list of his favorite books of all time. And one of them was Ian Fleming's From Russia with Love.
Oh, the next movie.
Exactly. And that is the reason, supposedly, why they chose that. Because they wanted to do Thunderball as the first movie. They did Dr. No instead. And then they chose From Russia with Love as the second one. And it's supposedly because John F. Kennedy was such a big fan of the first one, he mentioned that From Russia with Love was his favorite. Fleming considered that to be his best novel. He thought that was his best story. People tended to really like that one. Going into making the movie, they doubled the budget. So the first movie had $1 million budget. This one was going to have a $2 million budget.
$2 whole million?
$2 whole million in 1963. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money in 1963. If you try and get that movie made now, like that is some indie film shit right there.
It is. Yep. Sean Connery got a $100,000 bonus because the first movie was so successful. He only got paid $50,000 to do the first movie. So he basically got double his salary because it was so successful as a signing bonus to come back and do the second one.
Wait, so altogether he made $150,000?
Yes.
That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, especially
both
back then.
Both in 1962 and now. I mean, more then, but yeah, still now.
They basically brought back the entire production group, like all of the only one they really lost from the production design and all that kind of stuff was they lost a guy by the name of Ken Adam. Ken Adam, his next film would be Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I know that name.
Yeah, he was really responsible for the design of those like interiors in Dr. No's lair.
The big empty lab.
And I think he had a big influence on the look of like Dr. Strangelove, and I think he's had sort of a pop cultural influence on the idea of the like lair of the mad scientist, super science kind of thing. I'm sure Venture Brothers, and other
heavily influenced by
that. I thought that was really fascinating. In From Russia with Love, we've got obviously Sean Connery coming back. We've got Bernard Lee as M again. We didn't really talk about him last time, but he
just kind of sat behind a desk and gave him his job,
and he's going to do that for 12 more movies. Like he's going to keep doing that.
Again, good work if you can get it.
It's good work if you can get it. Lois Maxwell's going to be back as Miss Moneypenny. Eunice Gayson's going to be back as Sylvia Trench, Bond's semi-regular girlfriend, as Wikipedia likes to refer to her, which is charitable. And a few other well-known names. Robert Shaw, who you may remember from Jaws, as well as a whole bunch of other movies.
Yeah.
He is going to be in it. He's fantastic.
Really quickly, I was just looking at Ken Adams' IMDb page. You want to know 2 movies that stood out to me that he was a production designer for?
Shoot.
So the first one, Atom Family Values.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. The second one, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Well, he was already working with the man himself.
Exactly. You got an in.
You got an in. I think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was made by Eon Productions, who made the James Bond movies, and that was kind of the thing.
God, if Chitty Chitty Bang Bang just continues to haunt this podcast, I'm going to laugh so hard. When was this movie made?
It was made a year after Dr. No. So Dr. No came out in 1962, and From Russia with Love came out in 1963.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fast turnaround. Like, they didn't... They when they made the first movie, they didn't know that they were going to make the second one, did they?
They signed Sean Connery to a 5-movie deal. They were hoping to make a series, but they didn't know it would be the huge success that it was. So,
So then when it made $1 billion, they were like, okay, here's a bunch more money, go make us another one.
We're going to keep making them,
right now.
Mm-hmm. And
chop, chop.
In fact, the first 5 movies, the ones that he signed on initially, they come out in 62, 63, 64, 65, and 67. So...
My God.
That's how movies were done back then. Nowadays, we wait 3 or 4 years, we let the kind of pop culture move on a little bit, and then it comes back.
Unless you're doing a Disney property, and then they're dropping them shits like every 3 months.
But back then it was really, you wanted to have, if you were a production company, you wanted to have a movie out every year because that was how you made money.
That's how you made money.
Well, so anyway, we're about to watch From Russia with Love, which is generally considered one of the better ones, even above Dr. No. The tomatometer that Rotten Tomatoes has.
Tomometer.
The tomatometer? The tomatometer?
The tomometer.
The tomatometer has From Russia with Love as the second highest rated James Bond film.
What's the first?
First is Goldfinger. That's the next
okay.
one. And one spot ahead of Dr. No, which they have as third. I think that's partially due to favorable retro reviews.
Yeah.
Going by the audience score, which I probably think is more accurate to the general sort of vibe about it, they've got For Russia with Love as 5th overall.
Okay.
Which I think is probably close
first?
to it. First is Casino Royale, the first Daniel Craig one.
Oh, okay.
Which a lot of people really like.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is probably a good time to mention then too that I've never sat down and watched a whole James Bond movie. But previous to this, I did see at my sister and her at the time boyfriend were watching. I don't know which one it was, but one of the Daniel Craig movies, and I walked in and watched a couple of scenes. And so the only previous to last week when we watched Dr. No, the only James Bond scene I had seen was the one where he was in the chair and being tortured.
That's Casino Royale.
Yeah, with the ball. That was my only frame of reference for James Bond for many years.
And I don't think any other James Bond actor could have pulled off that scene other than Daniel Craig. I can't imagine Sean Connery being like, a little to the left. You're scratching my balls. Anyway, well, let's watch this thing.
Ba-da-ba-da.
It's such a sunny day, such a sunny day, such a sunny day,
we're back.
I like that one better.
Yeah, it was definitely better than Dr. No.
There. Okay. Story-wise, it was better.
Yes.
Gender politics-wise, it was much worse.
it's
Holy moly.
Yeah, it definitely has more of the things that like it's more
when people talk about like James being sleazy about women, and
Yeah.
like I think that this is the movie that they're thinking about, and they have absolute cause to. Like from the very beginning, in like the credits
yeah.
are projected over a woman's body, being objectified as much as possible. She's literally just an object to project credits onto.
Yeah.
You don't see her face.
No, not at all.
She's not a person, she's an object.
I even kind
and
of,
then that just kind of carries through the rest of the movie.
I even kind of joked. I was like at a certain point you're just sort of confused at what you're looking at, which is
it's just kind of like shapes at some point, curves and shadows.
Yeah. So,
jiggling cans.
Just a quick plot synopsis here. So, in the last one, James Bond killed Dr. No, and Spectre's mad about it. And so Spectre's like, hey, we're going to lure Bond into a trap, and we're also going to steal a cryptography device and sell it back to the Russians. You know, it's really convoluted. And then they hired Grant, who is played by Robert Shaw of Jaws fame. Does a fantastic job. I think they blonded his hair.
Oh yeah, no, that was not natural.
That is absolutely not natural. Yeah. And then Bond just goes to Istanbul and like kills a bunch of people. People are killed around him. His buddy Karim Bey. It's very sad.
Yeah, it does kind of seem okay. So like, I don't know if this is going to be a theme going forward, but like, you know, James Bond works very closely with someone who is local to the area, and then that person tragically dies. Or hilariously dies. I'm so sorry, Quarrel. Just don't be where the fire is gonna be, man.
Yeah, no dragon in this one, unfortunately.
Could have been improved with a dragon.
I mean, every movie could be improved with a dragon. That's just a fact. I think, I agree generally about your point of gender politics. I will say that Romanova is more of a character than Honey Rider is in the last one.
Yeah, and like she has a thing to do. She is also like, she's kind of doing counterintelligence as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Honey Rider was just like, I'm just here diving for shells and selling them. And that's all that I am doing. And oh, look at me being super sexy in this bikini.
Although once again, she is being dubbed by another actress.
Yeah.
It just seems like that was a thing back then.
Well, it definitely was more of a thing in like the 60s and 70s of like, you would have an actress who was like, this is the pretty face, and we hired her like mostly probably because she's a bit of a model.
Yep.
But then also they would have someone else, like they were dubbing everything anyway because they couldn't do live sound.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, well, we can't understand what she's saying, so we're just gonna get someone else to do it.
We did get to see Desmond Llewellyn, his first appearance as as Q.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gadgets. I loved the gadgets. The gadgets were very fun. And I did like that they did a good job. Like, it was very good, like, planting and payoff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, he was very little in this movie. He's going to be in the later ones, and he's got more of a character.
Yeah.
And also, if you notice, he was like, oh, it's a hell of a Christmas present. Every time they talk to Q going forward, there's a lot of like Christmas references. It seems like it's a running gag that every time Q gives him a gadget, thing. He's like references
Merry
Christmas in some way. Yeah, it's you will see once I point it out, which I just did.
Right.
Pretty fun. I gotta say that was one of the movies that I remembered the least of all of them. I remember the later ones, particularly a lot of the bad ones, much better. This one I don't...
Oh yeah, the bad shit always sticks out in your mind better.
It's true. I'm actually really excited for when you get to see one of the like really actually terrible ones.
Listeners, here's the thing that you should know about me as a person. I love terrible things.
Oh, we're getting there.
I love terrible things so much. It's one of my favorite things when something is bad. And here's the thing, it can't be bad on purpose. Like Birdemic or whatever, give me that. Absolutely.
Yeah, Birdemic rules.
Sharknado and the sequels.
Nah, fuck that.
The first Sharknado is okay. The second one is very much like, wow, they put a whole bunch of like cameos in here. And then anyone after that is like, oh, you guys are trying too hard. But like, oh, give me something made earnestly.
Yeah, earnestly.
That is just not good. That just absolutely misses the mark in every way, shape, and form. And inject it straight into my veins, please and thank you.
Yeah, it's Red Letter Media kind of talks about that too, where it's like if you're being bad on purpose as a joke, it can only go so far.
Yeah, it's too irony pilled.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's so much better when somebody is honestly, earnestly trying to make something and it's just bad. It's beautiful. It really kind of is.
Glorious. I'm so excited. So like like to kind of go back to some of the gender politics things, like they definitely were like it's interesting because there were women who were doing things.
Yes.
What is number 3? Was that Colonel Club?
Yeah, Colonel Club.
Colonel Club number 3 works for Spectre, and like
by Lottie Lenya.
She does stuff. She's active. She has a role to play.
Yes.
Weirdly a little bit predatory. Told Romanoff, hey, what? But then there's like, so like, there's a woman who's doing things, but then also like, Romanov is, she's kind of just like a sexy lamp a little bit.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't really need to be there. Like she gave them information about the Lecter, the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
That they were trying to get. But honestly, like, it's not anymore that they didn't already have, right? And, like, especially, like, not where it was. They already knew where it was. Like, she didn't really need to be there for that.
I think that was a verification that they were actually dealing with the real thing.
Sure, yeah. But, like, it's... She didn't really do a whole lot of stuff except for like have sex with James Bond and be hot. And then also, what's the Turkish guy's name?
Oh, Kerem Bey.
Yeah, Kerem Bey and his 800 sons. And his ever never-ending quest to have a larger and larger family. So
with a woman half his age.
With a woman half his age, yeah. So when we first meet him, James Bond goes to his office and he opens the door and there's a woman leaving and she's like putting her hat on and straightening her dress so that you know that they were just banging in the middle of a workday.
She just got dressed back up.
And then like later she's back at his house, or she's back at his office, like he's doing paperwork and she's hanging out. She's like lying seductively on a bed playing with her jewelry.
And she's like bored. She's like, I have nothing to do except sit here and wait to be fucked.
Yeah, like did he call her there? Did she show up on her own? Who knows? Cannot be said.
And then he goes back to the salt mines.
Back to the salt mines. What is that? And so he goes over and then immediate explosion so they don't even like get to have sex or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then the next scene is James Bond shows up and they're talking and he was like, what's the guy's name again?
Kerem Bey.
Kerem Bey is like, luckily for me, I had just moved to the Settee to spend some time to relax.
Yeah.
And James Bond goes, hold on, I literally wrote the line down because I was like, what the goddamn fuck do you mean, James Yule Bond?
Yeah.
He said, found your technique too violent.
Oh, yeah. He's like, hey, did you find your technique too violent?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh. And then there's the whole bit with like the two Romani girls who are fighting. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
That was weird. And then they maybe possibly have sex, both of them, with James Bond, and then he goes back to his hotel and then meets the main love interest of the movie, and they have sex without him able to take a shower in between.
I think he left the water running too.
He did. He absolutely left the water running.
Just turned the water on, realized there was someone else in his. Which also, hey Bond, not great spy work going on here. You go into your hotel room, and in a hotel you already do not trust, and the fucking doors. The porch doors are wide open and you don't check anything else and you just go take a shower and then you leave the water on and running and oh, hey, look, naked Russian girl in your bed. Wild.
Yeah. The actor who played Kerem Bey, his name was Pedro Armendáriz. He's a Mexican American actor who was in a bunch of westerns in like the 40s and 50s. Like
Sure.
he was a well-known like western actor. He was also in The Conqueror with John Wayne. John Wayne's movie.
The Genghis Khan movie,
Genghis Khan
where he did
movie.
Yellowface.
Yeah, 100%. That was kind of like his thing. In a weird thing, he died right before the movie came out. So this was the last movie that he was in. And similarly, John Kitzmiller died like 2 years after doing the last movie, Dr. No. These characters keep dying in the movie and then
dying
also in
in
real
real
life. That's a little weird.
Okay, twice is a coincidence. If it happens for the next movie, these movies might be cursed.
Oh, cursed. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say that like Albert Broccoli was having them murdered.
No! We're not impugn this man.
No, not at all. Not Mr. Broccoli.
Not Mr. Broccoli.
Yep. So a little historical context about this time. You know, like I said, JFK, huge fan of the first movie, huge fan of the book. He loved this movie so much. He specifically asked for his own copy that he could watch it in the White House.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. This was the last movie he watched before he went to Texas.
Oh, no. This movie might be cursed.
This movie might be a little bit.
A little bit cursed. It was only cursed for a while, though. The curse is worn off by now. It's safe to watch for you.
But this movie kind of came out at the height of the Cold War, if you really think about it. This was a year after the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like, this is...
Oh, dang.
You know,
yeah.
Almost exactly a year, because it was October 63. Cuban Missile Crisis was October 62. And what's kind of interesting to me is that despite it being released at the height of the Cold War and all that stuff, like, the Russians are not necessarily shown in, like, a positive light, but they're not the bad guys so far. And
No, the bad
basically
guys
any
are
of
still
these.
Spectre.
It's always Spectre.
Yeah.
And I guess that was a conscious decision made by the makers of the film. They sort of wanted it to be apolitical, which seems odd to me because this was the 1960s. And yeah, but I do think it's interesting, and I also think it's one of the reasons why these movies are more easily able to be watched now, because it does not feel so stuck in that like Cold War era where it's like, oh, the Russians are scary. Although the Russians are scary. This is 2025 when we're recording this. Things are bad right now.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, but
Duck and cover, perhaps, I suppose. Well, I mean, so like that might have been a deliberate choice to leave like the politic part out of for the most part out of it in an effort to make the movie more timeless. Like, you know, if they were envisioning a future where like Russia wasn't always going to be the worst guys, then being like, oh yeah, no, it's not Russia, it's Spectre.
Yeah.
Organization literally just made to be evil. Oh, hey, also, a quick note. Golf Girl is back in the beginning.
Yes, Sylvia Trench. Kind of interesting that they would have him have this, like, girlfriend and then also have this other, like, love interest in the movie.
I mean, it pains me to say it, but James Bond fucks.
Oh, he fucks.
So, like...
He fucks a lot. He fucks...
I do think it was kind of interesting that, like... over these 3 movies, he has had 8 sexual partners,
something like that,
and they were like, "Oh, we're going to take you down by showing this video of you having sex with a woman you're not married to."
I know. Oh my god! Like, maybe that's just such a 1960s point of view where it's like, if it's not on film, it didn't happen.
Sure.
Because like, wow, it does seem weird. The whole like murder-suicide thing just seems really odd and out of place, and maybe from a 1960s perspective it would have made more sense, but watching it from a 2025 perspective, it's just like, I'm sorry, you're trying to blackmail this sexist man in the UK with a video of him having sex with a Russian spy. Like, no.
With a hot Russian lady?
Like, he should be putting that up on the fucking, like, propaganda posters. Like, what are we talking about? It's very odd.
MI6 dick so good it make you want to leave Mother Russia.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, God.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Title sequence, we already talked a little bit about. This is the first James Bond movie that has a movie title song.
Theme song,
which will become a big thing going forward. In fact, next one is Goldfinger, which is arguably the most famous intro theme song.
Yeah.
With Shirley Bassey, just a fantastic vocal performance. This one, it's not during the intro credits. It's sort of played at the end, and you can kind of hear it in some diegetic places in the middle of the movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that like the James Bond themes, like when the Daniel Craig's Bond movies were coming out, it was always like a really big deal who got to sing the theme song.
Yes, and we will talk about those when we get there.
Yeah.
I'm actually very excited to talk about those because those ones are actually made, at least, two of them are made by artists who I like quite a lot, so I know a lot about the story of both of those songs being written.
Oh, fun. So some of the like tropes that like then later I don't know if this is like the genesis of these, but they're definitely ones that like got copied later, of like people having numbers instead of names.
Absolutely.
Like number 1, number 3, number 5. That Russian guy who seemed to be a mastermind and then died by poison shoe.
Yes.
And then big scary boss man who's like only filmed from the back, so you never see his face.
You never see his face. You only see the cat.
Yeah, and the white Persian cat specifically.
Yes.
There are a lot of things, like having the white Persian cat that's become basically a little bit of like a symbol of like, oh, this guy is evil.
Yeah.
But also, like, it very specifically reminds me of Inspector Gadget, which is like a child like campy play on James Bond
in a lot of ways. Yes.
But like very specifically that, like, was it Dr. Claw? Was that the
I was just about to say, like, Claw from Inspector Gadget is 100% that. Obviously, Dr. Evil from you don't see his face, but later on you see Blofeld's face. And he basically looks like Dr. Evil from Austin Powers.
Blofeld is in the Craig movies too, right? A version.
Interesting. Yes, it is a version, and it's played by a well-known actor that people really like, and I really like, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's the No Country for Old Men guy, isn't it?
No, it's not. Javier Bardem is in it, but Javier Bardem does not play.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's actually someone else.
Oh, Mads?
No.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know. See, I love having these conversations with you because you haven't seen these movies.
Right.
And who Blofeld is in the Daniel Craig movies is a little bit of a like surprise plot twist kind of thing.
Oh yeah, does he like show up and then later it's like, aha, I was Blofeld the whole time?
Yeah, basically. And I don't necessarily want to spoil that for you.
That's fair. I won't look then.
Yeah, fair enough.
I will say, so like while we were watching like the credits, there was one person who was just like the actor credit was she was just credited as Layla, and I was looking and I was like, who the fuck is this Layla chick? Turns out her name is actually, hold on one sec. Her name is actually Lisa Guirac, and she was the belly dancer. In the Roma camp.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. She was in a couple of things, in a couple of like movies, but she also had like a lot of success just as a dancer. Mm-hmm. I think she originally did like ballet or something like that, and then started Oriental dancing by accident at 12. How do you do that by accident?
By accident? What does that mean?
Couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But yeah, she was in, she danced a lot all over the world, and she was credited as Layla. That's another one of those, it's just like, it's uncomfy. Because, like, here's the thing. I know that what is actually Roma culture and what like people perceive as Roma culture are two very different things.
True, yes.
I am, however, not very well versed on what is actually part of Roma culture.
Sure.
So I don't necessarily want to say like, hey, that's not right. But it also definitely feels a little bit like, I don't know that would be done like that in this situation exactly like that.
Yeah, I kind of think that's probably correct, just knowing how this film treats that sort of thing. I definitely think that... they kind of do the same thing with a lot of the exotic
not English cultures,
the exotic locales. There's a lot of like, a 1960s Western idea of what it is,
right?
And sometimes even like a 1960s idea of like what they think is a respectful take on it.
Yeah.
When it's not, but it's what they thought was respectful.
Right.
I think that...
We're honoring your culture. Why are you mad?
Yeah, exactly. I think that continues But yeah. So.
Tropes from other movies.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like James Bond tropes that then get carried through. Are there boat chases in a lot of Bond movies?
There are a lot of boat chases.
Okay.
There are a lot of fights in train cars.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. Obviously, exotic locales. That's a bit. It's a globetrotting spy movie.
Right.
This one is when you get introduced to the Q.
Q.
Not the Q. This isn't Star Trek. You get introduced to Q and the special gadgets, and having the trick briefcase that opens up and...
Yeah, if you open it the wrong way, it explodes in your face.
Yes.
And, I did like that they did manage to get, like, all of the things that he showed them. So there's the tear gas canister there, the 50 gold, whatever.
The sovereigns,
The sovereigns. There's the knife. If you hit the button, a knife pops out the side. I liked the countersign. That was fun.
Oh, yeah. Some really great... We talked about this for the last one. Some really great, little, spy moments.
Yeah.
That I actually think that the James Bond movies get away from over time, and that's to its detriment.
Well, it's one of those things, too, where, part of the point of a countersign is that it sounds normal, so if someone was just walking by
yes.
it wouldn't ring any bells. And the do you have a match, I use a lighter, it's more reliable until it's not, whatever it is that sounds like a normal conversation. And I really like that. And I like it when other things parody that with ridiculous signs, the cockerel crows at midnight or whatever. Or specifically in Venture Bros when they do that, it's do you mind if I sit down, my dogs are barking? And then they get the other person gets the sign wrong, and then they just start yelling at each other.
Yeah.
But I do like the countersign where it's just it sounds like a normal conversation.
Mm-hmm. That was cool. He goes into the room, he checks it for bugs,
and another sloppy spy moment where when the assassin guy just pulls out his cigarette, and they don't actually go through the whole countersign, and James Bond's just yeah, come onto the train car.
So I think that's supposed to be kind of a humorous moment because he sort of holds up the cigarettes, and then Bond doesn't actually have a lighter, so he kind of goes and so Captain Nash, quote unquote Captain Nash, kind of says it's fine, and I think in the movie we're supposed to think, yeah, okay, he's trying to do the countersign, but he doesn't have the lighter, so it's kind of the joke. But outside of the movie, it's a great way to kind of say this isn't actually not a trustworthy. It's sort of a meta thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, some great cinematography.
Oh
in
my
this
god,
movie.
so good.
There were some great shots. The one where he's walking on the train car and Shaw's walking through the train, looking at him through the window. You see him in the mirror.
Yeah, you just see him in the window behind him, mirroring his moments. And every time Bond glances around, he's disappeared again. And then a
couple of a lot of great shots where of Istanbul, and you can see the Hagia Sophia in the background.
Constantly, you can see the Hagia Sophia, no matter what shot it is. She's right there.
Really, really good. A lot of great scenes of just the city. A lot of great shots of the roads and the medieval architecture and all that kind of stuff. Which I think is fantastic, and they shot it on location, and you can really tell.
Oh yeah. There was right at the beginning of the movie when Romanoff went to go talk to Colonel Clubb, and she was walking. There was a beautiful shot where she was walking down a dark alley, and then there was just a courtyard with apartments with balconies, and that was the only thing that was in light, and it was just a gorgeous shot. And it was one of those things where it's God, I want to live there.
Yeah, with all the cats.
With all the cats.
Yeah, I think that was great. Some really good stuff in that. So at the time, people liked this movie quite a bit. The same way that they liked Dr. No. It was sort of critically mixed. People sort of thought it was lurid and dumb fun, but it was incredibly popular,
Yeah, I mean, had the idea of a summer blockbuster been cemented in the American psyche yet? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not in the way that we know it, but it
Sure.
kind of was. And these movies came out in the fall. These were not.
Okay.
These were not over the summer movies, at least not yet. Yeah, the last one came out, I want to say, in September or October, and this one came out in October.
Well, they had to have that tight turnaround schedule because they filmed it literally the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. This one made more money than Dr. No, but it also cost a little bit more. But it cost $2 million instead of $1 million, and it made $78 million instead of $60 million. So you pay an extra $1 million and you make an extra $18 million. That's a pretty good
it's pretty
deal.
solid, yeah.
It was a big hit, and people really liked it. It is generally considered to be one of the best ones. Like I said, it's fifth on the tomato audience score there.
The tomato meter.
That one is the like critic scores and everything. Okay. And like I said, I kind of think for older movies, the critic scores are harder to follow because it's mostly like glowing retro reviews, as opposed to like at the time reviews. That's at least what the vibe that I get from that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who say From Russia with Love is the best one. I'm not one of them, but there are a lot of people who do. And I can kind of see why. It's, to me, Dr. No doesn't feel like a James Bond movie quite yet. They're still kind of figuring it out.
You can see like the shape of it there, but they haven't quite gotten like the form filled out.
This one feels much more like the later ones.
Yeah.
And I think Goldfinger kind of cements it, which you'll see next. Goldfinger, if you kind of think of Dr. No as being maybe somewhat down to earth and realistic, and then From Russia with Love is maybe like slightly more fantastical, slightly more like Goldfinger pushes that even further into the even more fantastical.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, and you'll see a lot. Goldfinger will be the movie that you'll watch and you'll be like, I've seen this scene. I've seen this scene. I've seen this scene in a million different things.
Yeah.
I think you'll like it, especially if you thought this one was better than Dr. No, which
I do, yeah. I think this one is better than it. It definitely still feels long.
Yeah.
Especially if you're used to like modern movies and modern movie pacing. It feels long. I think we had 40 minutes left in the movie, and it was like, okay, well, we could end here.
We kind of could, yeah. The last bit sort of ties up loose ends, but you could they get off the train and get on the boat. You could just end it right there.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have the boat chase and the explosions.
Yeah,
and how they somehow put 3-4 barrels of fuel in the water and had 18 explosions.
Yeah.
So I found some reviews from the time, some contemporary reviews from the 60s.
Yeah.
Of the James Bond movies.
Mm-hmm.
So for Dr. No, it's hard to say what an actual consensus is. I will, however, this one that I found is my favorite. It's from October 7th. It was in the Observer, and it was by Penelope Galat. And the title was Getting a Laugh Out of Bond. And so she kind of takes Dr. No as a bit of a a satire, a little bit, a send up is what she calls it.
Yeah, which is interesting because I certainly don't think that we would think of it that way now.
No, we think of it as classic spy shit.
Yeah, but there definitely, from stuff that I read as well, there definitely was a what's the best way to put this? There was a sort of thought about the movie from people that was kind of, if not a joke, it was sort of playing it up for sort of laughs. And Sean Connery does bring a little bit of levity and humor to the role.
Yes.
that the books I don't think really have necessarily.
She says specifically, Dr. No is full of submerged self-parody, and I think it would be wrong to take it solemnly, as it would be to worry that Sherlock Holmes' beastliness to Dr. Watson encourages intellectual arrogance or the taking of cocaine.
I mean, sure.
I also liked this bit. So she says Dr. No is played by Joseph Weisman, is partly Chinese, and Bond guesses at his politics at once. With your disregard for human life, he says heavily in character, you must be a member of the East. Bond himself by this time has already disregarded quite a lot of life. Sent a lorry full of people in flames down a precipice, shot a dangerous geologist while playing patience, and stamped on a tarantula that had been set upon a murderous amble through the hairs on his chest.
I mean, to be fair, the tarantula tried to kill him first.
Yeah. No, tarantulas
that was in self-defense.
Tarantulas can't do that.
Well, yeah, I know.
I know, and you know, and hopefully, listener, you also know tarantulas are not deadly unless you're highly allergic. Please don't stomp on tarantulas. They don't want to be there any more than you want them there. I super promise you.
Yeah, just like how in the second one in From Russia with Love, the whole fish thing.
Yeah. So at the very beginning of From Russia with Love, number one, Blofeld has this whole Blofeld, whatever.
I'm gonna correct you.
It's fine. I don't care. Blofeld has this whole speech about how he calls them Siamese fighting fish. I'm gonna call them beta fish because that's what we call them now.
Yeah.
They're dumb.
They used to be alpha fish, but now they're beta fish.
I need you to strike that from the record because I will not stand by that joke. Thank you very much. So he calls them dumb because they are constantly fighting each other, right? And he says that like, oh, but this fish is smart because it waits for the other two fish to tire themselves out and then it kills like the remaining one. And like, hey guy, hey everyone. Beta fish aren't like that. Like, yes, if you put two,
they are hella dumb.
All fish are kind of dumb. Except for red devils. Red devils are smart. You have to give them enrichment or else they'll fucking break your cage. Anyway, tangent. So it's not that beta fish are dumb. It's that beta fish are territorial.
Yeah.
If you take something that is used to living in like shallow but wide water and you stick two of them in less than a gallon, fucking of course they're going to fight. If you stick like anything that is territorial, I don't know, tigers, orangutans, if you stick two of them in too small of a space, of course they're going to fight. They're not dumb. You just put them in the wrong environment. You're dumb. And I'm sorry, I will not stand for the slander against beta fish.
Hannah's got some well-developed opinions about fish.
I do. I don't know if it's ever going to come up again, but it might, and I will definitely tell you.
Oh, Hannah.
What?
It will absolutely come up again. Not specifically about this fish, but there are a lot of dumb takes about animals.
Are there fish tanks in other movies? Because I'm going to get really excited if there are fish tanks in
there
other movies.
There are sharks in Thunderball. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, sharks are cool, but like, you know.
Sharks are fish.
Yeah, but it's fine. Whatever.
Hannah, lukewarm on sharks.
They're fine. They're cool. I'm glad that they exist. We shouldn't kill them for soup or whatever else. They need to exist in the wilderness. I would prefer that they not exist near me.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But, you know, it's good that they are there.
That's why we live on land.
Yeah, that's why we live on land. And so then I also found... Oh, wait, hang on. This one was kind of funny. I think they called James Bond a hairy marshmallow.
I mean, he kind of is.
Sorry, this is from... Oh, it's from Time. The Wayback Machine that I'm looking at does not have, like, the author's name on it. No. Beans. Anyway, Agent Bond, in short, is just a great big hairy marshmallow, but he sure does titillate the popular taste.
That was phrased grossly.
I know, right? He looks pretty good, as portrayed by Scotland's Sean Connery, who moves with a tensile grace that excitingly suggests the violence that is bottled in Bond. There were a lot of reviews that I found where people talk about like how violent the movies are,
yeah,
which from a modern perspective is hilarious. Even in like, you know, I have not seen the Daniel Craig movies, but I understand how action movies in the 2010s were. And I can only imagine that, like, the violence factor is, like, way dialed up. Because I remember, like, watching Dr. No and From Russia with Love, and, like, people would get shot, and then there would be, like, the tiniest little spurt of blood.
Oh,
or, like,
yeah.
They would just, like, go, like, and then fall over, and you're like, where did you even get shot, my guy?
The culture wars, it's fascinating to me that the culture wars are so different than they were 60 years ago, because... You know, 60 years ago, you know, depictions of sex and depictions of violence were sort of equally reviled. And then, you know, I think in the last like 30 or 40 years, depictions of violence for the most part are okay. You know, there's gratuitous, but, you know, most people are like, yeah, shoot guns, whatever, we don't care. And the sex has changed the way but people still, I think, get upset about that, especially, you know, Gen Z, we can talk about that. I think that's overblown. The whole like Gen Z hates sex on TV. I think it's a little overblown, but I also do think that has the cultural understanding of the stuff like that has also changed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of the sex portion of this, so in this review, he's kind of going through sort of the stuff that happens. On the beach, he meets Ursula Andress, a skin diver who seems to wear her air tanks in front. Hey, buddy, what the fuck do you mean?
Okay, I'm sorry.
But before 007 can find time to examine the lady's apparatus, the villain appears. So, hey, it turns out it wasn't just the movies where people were super scuzzy and gross about women. It was everywhere.
Well, but that's the thing, is that, like, it was not, you know, I think from a modern perspective, the things that we would shame James Bond for is being like shitty towards women. Back then, they didn't care that he was shitty towards women. They cared that he was having sex.
Yes.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, so now looking at it, it was like, hey, it's really shitty that you're like implying that you're going to have a greater relationship with this woman when you know that you're not going to. This is just like a shag and leave. And at the time, they're like, it's fine, like whatever, like be mean to her, she's just a silly woman, but like you're having sex outside the bounds of marriage. What on earth do you mean?
Yeah.
So also speaking of sexism, this is a review that I found of From Russia with Love. This is an archived one from 1963. The second paragraph starts, but the second film is almost as good as Dr. No. There aren't so many juicy girls.
I'm sorry, what?
I know, which I'm like, there are objectively more. Like,
yeah, there's a lot more. Did you not see the belly dancer? Like,
yeah, there's the belly dancer. There was Romanov. There were the two Roma women who were fighting each other. There was Golf Girl from the beginning.
Oh yeah, well she was in the first one too.
She was in the first one too. Yeah,
and of course Miss Moneypenny. See,
yeah.
that's what I couldn't be a secret agent because I would be with Miss Moneypenny. She seems awesome. She seems like she's having a great time. Why is she like lusting after Bond? I mean, I guess he's pretty, but like he's such a shithead.
yeah. Well, I mean, you've got to kind of assume that like it's a little bit like proximity. I mean, especially at the time she was a secretary, and like if you were a secretary, you were oftentimes looking for a husband in the pool of people who came to your office.
Yeah, but the fact that like James Bond, over the course of 2 movies, has had sex with 11 people and none of them are Moneypenny. You'd think at a certain point she's like, I'm just going to stay away from that for my own health.
I also, so there's a little bit of a theory that I've read that like, because, the 007 James Bond is like a moniker and not necessarily a person, and she is seen multiple James Bonds. She'll flirt with him, but she like doesn't actually want to do anything else with him because she knows that he's going to be gone at some point.
I think we're gonna have a big talk about this specific theory. I think we're gonna wait until we get to the end of the Roger Moore films.
Sure.
At least we're gonna talk about it during the Roger Moore films because I think that Connery, Lazenby, and Moore are supposed to be the same guy. And it's not until Dalton that you could, I think, make an argument that that's a different guy. For a number of reasons. We will get to that. But and I think, the normal way that theory goes is that, Connery, Lazenby, Moore are the same guy, and then Dalton and Pierce Brosnan are the same guy, and then Daniel Craig is a third guy. So there's only 3.
There are only 3 James Bonds.
Yeah, up to now.
Also, really quick about the same guy who we have already disagreed with pretty heavily. Dr. No was such a lot of fun that it set me on reading Ian Fleming, and so I came to From Russia with Love with a lot of preconceived ideas, which is not to say that I was disappointed by the second film, but it didn't seem quite so lively, quite so fresh, or quite so rhythmically fast-moving. A hard disagree.
Yeah, the first one's much slower than the second one.
It really is. I mean, I definitely was at one point thinking to myself, dang, how much time is left in this movie? But like, I was thinking of that like much earlier in Dr. No than I was in From Russia with Love.
Yeah, From Russia with Love, I think, gets to the main plot earlier.
Yes.
The first one, it's a lot of like futzing around in Kingston, and then, now we're going to get to the island and do the thing. From Russia with Love, he gets to Istanbul, and it kind of immediately starts. The problem, I think, with From Russia with Love's pacing, which is not as bad as Dr. No's, is that there's the main plot, and then there's the train stuff, and then there's the boat stuff, and it's sort of like, okay, when are we...
Yeah.
All right.
Not quite as bad as some other movies that end like 3 times before it's finally over, but still. Hey, speaking of the ending of From Russia with Love, is Romanoff in any other... do they ever reference her again?
Nope.
Okay, they just sail into the sunset and then she disappears from the face of the earth.
Pretty much, and...
she got buried in a shallow grave somewhere.
Oh, God.
Man, they were using her, and like obviously Spectre doesn't give a shit about her, so...
See, we want to talk about sexism with James Bond. We absolutely can. One of the big things is that a lot of the movies end with, Bond hooking up.
Bond and a Bond girl, and I'm going to love you forever, and then like...
And then the next movie, they literally, it's like they were never born in the first place.
Never seen or heard from again.
And it's kind of weird. And what's especially jarring is that there are a few times where that doesn't happen. And when that doesn't happen, it's even weirder. You're sort of like, hey, wait a minute, hang on, what?
Did someone not hit the reset button?
Mm-hmm. By the way, James Bond gets married in one of these movies.
Yeah. That's one of the things I'm vaguely aware of.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time when we get to that one.
Yeah. It seems from like the reception part of like their Wikipedia pages, it definitely seems that like hold on.
The first two movies had kind of mixed reviews at the time. They were very popular, and some people really liked them, but critically, it was kind of like, eh.
Yeah. A lot of the things called them like, a preposterous, skillful slab of hard-hitting, sexy hokum.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Who said that?
That was from Variety.
Yeah. Damn. Nice job, Variety.
I
Pretty
do
good.
like this though. After a slowish start, it is directed by Terrence Young at a zingy pace.
Yeah.
When?
Yeah.
This is from
zingy pace for 1963.
That's fair.
We got to always remember that.
This is from Russia with Love, so like it's a little bit faster than Dr. No, at least.
That's where we are at for this movie. Final thoughts?
Personal ranking currently is From Russia with Love, Dr. No.
Yeah, same. It's really gonna be pretty easy, I think, for the first few movies. I think once we get to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is the first movie without Sean Connery, that's when opinions start to diverge, I think.
About how good they are?
About how good they are, for the most part. Like, some people will pick one Connery movie over another. They'll say that they like that one a little bit more. Generally speaking, though, like the first 5 movies people think are mostly good, but people pick their favorites. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is when it diverges a little bit. Then you get Diamonds Are Forever, where it diverges a lot because it starts to get kind of wacky and weird. And then the Roger Moore movies start, and it's a whole other ballgame, So it's going to be interesting.
Who's the next Bond after Connery?
Well, that's a fun question. So, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is the 6th movie. That is George Lazenby. Diamonds Are Forever, the 7th movie, that's Sean Connery again. He leaves and then comes back. Yeah. It's a whole thing.
I bet.
And we'll talk about it.
We'll get there, friends.
All right. Well, hey, next time we're going to watch Goldfinger, which I think whether people like it or not, I think it's hard to say that it's not the quintessential James Bond film. That once you watch Goldfinger, you will 100% understand what that means, pop culturally speaking.
Delightful.
Absolutely.
A little bit apprehensive, but delightful.
It'll be a good time no matter what. All right. We'll see you then.
Ba-da-ba.
Thanks for listening. You can find us at mythingyourthing.com or at mythingyourthingpod on social media. Thanks to RK Maroon for letting us use their song Macaroni Art from the EP You Can't Eat Horses. You can get it at rkmaroon.bandcamp.com. If you have a thing you think we should talk about, email us at mythingyourthingpod@gmail.com, and maybe that could be our thing.